Hey guys, welcome back to Dreamland. I know it's been a while since the last video. I've been busy with something personal. Actually, I'm moving to another city, and trust me, it's been a lot of work. But yeah, that's life. Alright, without wasting any more time, let's jump straight into today's story. In the last part, Wing finds Wangji at the hospital and helps him with his father's treatment. And now, this is where things start to get interesting. So let's begin. Wayne prayed silently for Mr. Lamb's recovery. He had done everything he could, but one question kept burning inside him. Why hadn't Wangji told him? Why did he go through all of this alone? Why didn't he ask for help? But Wing didn't get the chance to talk to Wangji. The moment Wangji's body swayed, Wing rushed forward, catching him just before he could hit the ground. It was as if the moment he finally got what he had been wanting so desperately, his body gave up. They admitted him into another room immediately. After the examination, the doctor spoke calmly, trying to reassure Wing. It had happened due to extreme stress. Wangji had been restless for 2 nights straight. It also appeared that he hadn't eaten properly for a long time, leading to physical weakness. But there was no need to panic, the doctor assured him. With proper rest, Wangji would be fine. Still, reassurance did little to ease the tight knot in Wing's chest. Standing beside the bed, watching Wangji lie there unconscious, pale and fragile in a way that made his heart ache, Wing made a silent decision. Whatever the reason was, whatever pain Wangji had endured alone, it ended here. From now on, Wangji would not be alone. Whether Wangji liked it or not, Wing wasn't going anywhere. One thing was painfully clear to him now. He could not tolerate seeing Wangji in such a helpless condition ever again. After a moment, Wing straightened. There were things that needed to be done before Wangji woke up. Yes, he said into the phone, his voice firm. You heard it right. I want you to bring all those things here within an hour. But sir, I'm on vacation. The man on the other end protested, his voice almost pleading. I'm on the other side of the city. But you took time off from your office work. This is personal. No, sir, things don't work like that. Jian Cheng argued, sounding like he was lecturing a stubborn child. When I'm on leave, I'm not obligated to do office work or your personal errands. I don't know about any of that. You've already wasted 10 minutes arguing. Now you have 20 minutes to get here. But sir, earlier you said I had an hour, and I can't possibly make it in 20 minutes. Do your task or lose your job. The call ended before Jianqing could say another word. Cursing the day he joined this company, Jianqing did exactly what he was told, rushing toward the hospital as if his life depended on it. When he finally arrived, he immediately called Wing, just as instructed. Moments later, Wing came out to meet him. You brought everything I asked for, Wing said, taking the bag from his hands. Jianqing nodded silently like an obedient child. Good. Now you can go and enjoy your vacation. Only then did Jianqing let out a breath of relief. As he turned to leave, a thought crossed his mind. Sir didn't even tell me who's in the hospital or who all this was for. And then it hit him. If Sir himself is here, it must be someone important. But his father is in another hospital. Should I check? No. He immediately set that thought down. What if Wing noticed him and decided to keep him around with more personal work? Absolutely not. Without looking back, Jianqing rushed to his car and drove off in the blink of an eye. When Wangji woke up, the first thing he noticed was the unfamiliar quiet. Then his gaze shifted and he froze slightly. Wing was still there, resting on the sofa on the other side of the room. He was asleep. His eyes were closed, head tilted back against the sofa, arms folded loosely over his chest, legs crossed in a careless way. It looked like he had only fallen into a light sleep, as if he had been fighting it for a long time, while waiting for Wangji to wake up, and finally lost. For a brief moment, Wangji simply stared, but right now nothing mattered more than his father. The moment consciousness fully returned, Wangji panicked. Wangji remembered everything, how they had been preparing his father for surgery just before he lost consciousness. His heart began to race, ignoring the weakness in his body. Wangji tried to get out of bed. He needed to see his father. He had to. But the moment he moved, the IV line tugged painfully at his hand, and dizziness washed over him. Still, he tried to pull it off. At the same time, a nurse walked in to check on him. Seeing what he was doing, she hurried toward him. Sir, no, please don't move, she said urgently, trying to stop him. But Wangji wasn't listening. Fear drowned out everything else. Luckily, the moment and voices spoke Wing. He stood up immediately and walked toward them. Surprisingly, his expression was calm, almost as if he had accepted this reaction from Wangji all along. Let him go. The birds made both the nurse and Wangji freeze. Wangji's movements stopped instantly. He stared at Wing in disbelief. He wasn't sure he had heard correctly. How could Wing sound so calm, so steady when Wangji himself was being this stubborn? I'll take him myself, Wing added when the nurse hesitated. But the doctor said, the nurse began. I'll manage that. Wang interrupted gently but firmly. Then his eyes met Wangji's. Wangji was already looking at him, his eyes filled with confusion and something he didn't know how to name. With the nurse's help, Wang carefully helped Wangji off the bed. Supporting him steadily, he walked Wangji forward the operating room. Soon they reached a viewing area, a place from where everything inside the operating room was clearly visible. A few interns were already there, eager to observe how the specialist doctors performed the surgery. When Wing and Wangji arrived, the interns quietly moved aside to give them a space. They exchanged surprised glances, confused by the presence of a civilian and a patient, but no one said anything. Instinctively, they understood one thing. This man must be powerful to be allowed it here. The moment Wangji saw his father lying unconscious on the operating table, surrounded by machines and masked doctors, fear crashed into him all over again. The fear of losing his father, the fear of never seeing him again. Memories flooded his mind, how careless his father had always been with himself, how selfless, how he never once thought about what Wangji would go through if he left him the way his mother had, how lonely Wangji would become. Years ago, when his father first found out about the disease, he had lied. He told Wangji there was nothing they could do, that he could only survive on medication. The surgery wouldn't save him anyway. But the truth was different. There was a surgery with a 30% success rate. It was expensive, too expensive. So his father chose to lie. He told Wangji that even surgery wouldn't keep him alive, that medicine was the only option, that they should leave everything to destiny. How could he lie to him like that? How could he be so irresponsible, so willing to risk everything alone? No, Wangji whispered, his voice breaking. I can't lose him. He's everything I have. Only then did he realize he had said it out loud. You won't. Wang replied immediately. His voice was calm, assured, unshakable. Wangji looked at him, glassy-eyed, unable to speak. He didn't know how to share his pain, didn't even know where to begin. But he didn't need to. Wang understood. He knew what Wangji was going through. And somehow Wangji felt that quiet certainty. Everything was going to be all right. Wang would make sure of it. After Wangji had calmed down a little, Wang took him to a VIP resting room. It had a comfortable bed, a sofa for visitors, and some small furniture. The room was warm, peaceful, filled with a pleasant aroma that softened the sterile feeling of the hospital. Wangji was surprised. He had accepted to be taken back to the previous room, the one he hated. He hated hospitals. Being here made his chest feel tight. Wing helped him sit on the bed, then took the sofa himself. Silence followed. Wangji was lost in his sorrow, staring at nothing. Wing wasn't sure what to do next. Should he let Wangji rest? Should he talk to him and try to comfort him? But about what? Wangji barely spoke even his normal state. Then another thought crossed Wing's mind. Food. Wangji, he called softly. Even saying his name still felt a little awkward. Wangji didn't reply verbally. He only glanced at him in acknowledgement. Why don't you freshen up and change into clean clothes? Wang suggested, hoping Wangji wouldn't refuse. Wangji hesitated. Having a normal conversation with Wang still felt strange for him too. They had never been like this before. I don't have anything to change into. Without saying anything, Wang reached for a bag Wangji hadn't noticed until now. Like Santa surprising a child, Wing pulled out clean clothes and handed them to him. Here, don't worry, it's your size. Wangji just stared, surprised. Go on, hurry up, you still haven't eaten anything. Wangji nodded quietly and walked toward the bathroom. When he looked at himself in the mirror, he barely recognized the person staring back. He looked exhausted, pale, like a mess. Maybe that's why he's being so kind, Wangji thought. Anyone would pity me like this. Still, he was grateful. Wing could have left after making sure his father received treatment, but he stayed. He even brought clothes for him. Whether it was pity or kindness, Wangji was grateful for all of it. When Wangji came out freshly clean, he found Wing on a call, probably work related. After all, he wasn't in the office because of him. The moment Wing noticed him, he ended the call immediately and turned his full attention to Wangji, who stood there unsure of what to do next. Let's make you eat something, Wing said, standing up. Just the mention of food made Wangji nauseous. I don't have any appetite, Wangji said softly. And I don't like hospital food. It's too. He stopped mid-sentence. Being placed food in front of him, a burger, a taco, fries, and a cup of hot chocolate. And not just any burger, it was Wangji's favorite cheeseburger with just a hint of pickle, exactly the way he liked. Wangji stared, how, when, and most importantly for him. Look, Wing said gently, I know how you're feeling right now. Believe me, I was in the same situation just a month ago. He pointed to the food. You need this, if not for yourself, then for your dad. What do you think you'd want to see when he wakes up? And how will you take care of him if you don't take care of yourself first? Wangji hadn't been thinking clearly, but the mention of his father brought all the worry back. If you don't eat, Wing added calmly as he sat beside him, I'll feed you myself. Then with a playful warning, and I don't think you're going to like that. That was enough. Wangji quickly grabbed the burger and took a bite. He didn't know Wing well enough to tell whether he was serious or joking, and he wasn't willing to take the risk. Still, he knew one thing. He liked this side of Wing. He didn't know how long it would last, but right now he wouldn't wish for anything more. If Wing hadn't shown up, if he hadn't stayed, God knew what Wangji would have done. Thank you, Wangji said quietly. Just 2 words, but he meant them. Oh, Wing said awkwardly, sighing. It's not really me. I mean, it is, but Jianjing brought everything. So if you like the food, thank him. Not for this, Wangji said softly. For everything, without you, none of this would have been possible. They would never have treated my father here. He looked at Wing with complete sincerity. Thank you for saving my world. Wing nodded. Then gently he asked, why didn't you tell me anything, even when things got out of your control? The sudden question caught Wangji off guard. After a brief moment of silence, he replied, but I tried to call you. Wangji replied, confused. He didn't answer. What? Wing frowned. He had no idea. Yes, Wangji insisted. But then I thought, why would you help me? And I didn't have time to waste. I had to arrange the money somehow. Wing didn't understand how that had happened. But if Wangji said it, then it was true. Tell me everything, Wing said. How did you find out about your dad's condition? Did you know about his illness? Wangji paused. He finished his fight slowly. Yes and no. Seeing Wang's confusion, he continued. Years ago, when Dad found out, he told me, but only half the truth. He said there was no cure, the surgery would kill him, that at least medicine would let him live a long life. But he lied because we didn't have enough money. Wang stayed silent. Yet somehow Wangji could see his own pain reflected in Wang's eyes. Maybe it was sympathy, maybe something more. Wasn't sure. For the first time, Wangji didn't want to hold it in anymore. He wanted to speak, to let everything out. 2 days ago, he said quietly, I went to see my father. I found him unconscious on the floor. His eye turned glossy as the memory returned. I didn't know what to do, what happened, whom to call. He swallowed hard. I took him to the hospital, but even our insurance didn't cover the bill. Shame crept into his voice. There was someone my dad helped once with a huge amount of money when he was broke, but he refused us without hesitation. Then Wangji looked at Wang. So I had no other option. I called you. And I didn't help you either, Wang said quietly. And in their silence, Wang could finally feel it, the weight of everything turning Wangji away when he needed help the most. Though he hadn't accepted Wangji to share so much with him, it brought Wang a strange and familiar sense of joy, quiet, almost content. Yes, he was genuinely happy, happy that Wangji had let him in, even if Wang didn't yet understand why. Happy that Wangji trusted him enough to share his worries, his fear. That just alone meant more than Wang was willing to admit. By the time Wangji had nearly finished eating, Wang quietly took out a box and held it toward him. Here, he said casually, I don't know why you weren't wearing shoes, but you can't walk around like that, can you? Wangji stared at him, dumbfounded. How on earth was Wing notice everything? Receiving no response, Wing raised an eyebrow and added teasingly, or do you prefer walking around barefoot? The playful tone made Wangji suddenly aware of his feet. Feeling foolish, he unconsciously tried to slide them under the couch. That wasn't what Wing wanted. Without another word, he went down on one knee and reached for Wangji's foot. Wangji froze. Wing, what are you doing? He asked, pulling his feet back in alarm. What? Wing looked up confused. You don't want to wear them? That's not what I meant, Wangji said quickly. I can do it myself. Oh, Bing replied easily. It's fine, you're not well. I can help you. No, I can do it. You don't have to. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Wing said simply as if it were the most logical thing in the world. Wangji had no reply. He stopped resisting and let Wing tie the laces for him. If someone had told Wangji 2 days ago that Wing, who has shown nothing but resentment toward him since the day they met, would one day kneel down and tie his shoelaces, Wangji would have laughed and said, not in this lifetime. Thank you, Wangji said softly. He wanted to say more. He wanted to ask how Wing noticed everything and why this sudden change of heart. But instead, he convinced himself that perhaps Wing was only being kind because of their shared pain, because both their fathers were fighting for their lives. And this is true, Wing added lightly as he stood up and took his seat beside Wangji again. Before either of them could speak further, a nurse entered the room, smiling brightly. Mr. Reese, she said cheerfully, the doctor asked me to inform you that Mr. Lan's surgery has been completed successfully. Wangji bolted toward the door before she could even finish. Wang followed closely behind. They met the doctors in the hallway before reaching Mr. Lan's room. Congratulations, Mr. Wei, one of them said. Everything went well. So how is he? Can I see him? He just stable. But no, you can't meet him right now. The surgery was successful, but he hasn't regained consciousness yet. The relief Wangji felt was overwhelming, but worry lingered. When will he wake up? We can't say for sure at the moment, the doctor said kindly. But we assure you, He will be fine. Please be patient. Then the doctor turned serious. By the way, did you take your medicine? Doctor, the nurse assigned to Wangji quickly said. I was just about to give it to him before you approached us. Good. The doctor nodded. Then turning back to Wangji, he added, you should rest as well. You've been through a lot. Stressing yourself won't help your father. Everything is under control now. I think the doctor is right, Wing said gently, guiding Wangji back toward their room. You need to rest. Wangji didn't feel like a patient. He felt fine, awake, alert. He tried to protest, but Wing didn't listen. He made Wangji lie down, ignoring his complaints about the bed being too stiff and how the cot should be better. The next morning, dawn had just begun to break when Wangji started. He wasn't fully awake yet and he didn't want to leave the bed. Wait, wait, something felt wrong. This bed was comfortable, too comfortable. The room was dimly lit, and it took Wangji a moment to realize this wasn't the hospital room. How did this happen? The last thing he remembered was being in the hospital when Wang forced him to rest. Still half asleep, Wangji slowly got up, his movements clumsy, trying to understand whether he was dreaming. Then he noticed it, a note attached to the bedside lamp. He picked it up and read, don't panic when you wake up, you needed this. And don't worry about your dad, I'm here. I'll take care of him and call you as soon as he wakes up. You take a warm shower, have your aunt cook something for you, and only then think about coming here. And now you can stop knitting your eyebrows. Wangji instantly relaxed his expression. How did he know? Wangji wondered, briefly suspecting that Wing had installed a camera, before remembering that he always did that when confused. He didn't want to admit it, but he really had needed this. Still, he planned to hurry back to the hospital as soon as possible. He wanted to be there for his father, and besides, Wing hadn't rested either. He needed to return to his work. But just for this moment, just this once, Wangji allowed himself to breathe. Alright, that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for listening and supporting Dreamland. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you very soon with the next part. Until then, take care and goodbye.